Good morning, everybody. So I'm going to let everybody come on real quick. I am actually in my very messy garage this morning trying to make this point. So, and I think I need to straighten up this. Hold on, everybody. Sorry. My phone is about ready to pop out of here. So, whoops. Yeah, just like that. Okay. Hold on just a second. We have technical difficulties on my side. In other words, the tripod does not want to hold my phone this morning for some reason. Okay. So hopefully my phone will stay. We've been arguing already for probably 5 minutes. Okay. So, good morning and welcome to my messy garage with tons and tons of stuff that needs to be mailed to Hawaii to my kids. Hey, good morning, Addison. Good morning, Steve. So I spent the first part of this morning trying to figure out what the hell I was going to talk about. Not that that's abnormal for me because I don't normally know what the heck I'm going to talk about. But this morning I was really, really challenged. And I could not figure out. It was just like all the same old material coming up. And when I woke up, I didn't have anything really pop into me, and my coffee pot didn't talk to me. So as I sat in the house and all the churning behind me of kids making lunches and all this different stuff, I had this memory of this pastor up in Kent, Washington, that I used to go to church, to his church up there. And he's probably one of my favorite speakers that I've ever listened to. And his name is Jack Holt, if anybody is interested in that, because he has some books out. But he just was a phenomenal speaker, really, really powerful. And his whole church service was kind of on the law of attraction, even though, you know, it was just, he was a man. He is a man. I'm pretty sure he's still alive. I don't know. I have not explored that one. But he was, in those days, his, preaching and everything was so focused in on the important things of the creation and manifestation of having, that freedom-based fuck yes life, as I call it. And probably a lot of the stuff that my core beliefs probably come from Pastor Jack, in truth, because that was like 20 years ago. So I was in that sponge mode in my 20s. But anyways, one of his books popped into my mind this morning, and it's called More Than Enough with Plenty Left Over, if anybody's interested. Quick 100-page read, very, very easy to read, and just his perspective. It's a fantastic book. That particular quote, though, I use it here and there because I love that quote. More than enough with plenty left over. And the whole premise of that is that God wants us to have more than enough with plenty left over. But when you get into it, and what today's topic is really focused in on what are those key things that we need to do to have a life of more than enough with plenty left over, instead of just getting by, right? So it's like just getting by, and oh my goodness, I've done this whole just getting by thing. I did that for like the entire front end of my life and through a 20-year marriage. And it wasn't until I started breaking free of certain chains that all of a sudden it was like, boom, and I moved into this new space where I had plenty. You could say I had plenty. And then I hit these phases where it feels like there's not enough. And in reality, my needs are always met, which is, that support from God, the universe, saying, your needs are always met. Your needs are always met. And as I look at those things, in those times that my needs are being met, hey, good morning, Michael. As I look at those times when it feels like, yeah, my needs are being met, but I don't have more than enough with plenty left over, even if because I'm one of those people that I stick money in savings and then I just forget about it. I'm really good about just not acting like that's not there. So when you look at those things, it all comes down to, and this was the quote that got me started today. The quote that got me started was, "My perspective is the beginning of my success." And that's a Pastor Jack quote. So my perspective is the beginning of my success. And, you know, eons ago when I was married in my 20s, my husband, he was in finances, mutual funds, life insurance, home mortgage, all that good stuff. So I went to all these different sales and personal growth events with him and studying, you know, Stephen Covey and Tom Hopkins and, you know, John Maxwell and the principles of leadership, the principles of success, think of the power of thinking big, all this different stuff is what, you know, Jim Rohn, all these fantastic educators, teachers out there. And one of the things that I learned over that time frame of my life was that our perception is our reality. And that's what it comes down to. And, you know, I titled this, like, you know, stuck, you know, like we're stuck in storage. I was going to be stuck in the wasteland, but I was like, I don't think I'm taking everybody to the bathroom this morning. That seems a little weird. I'm just not quite there. Although it could have been good me doing a whole talk on the toilet. But so I decided, you know, I'll just bring you guys out to my messy garage because, you know, hey, right now I have a whole bunch of stuff out here that needs to find its own home. A lot of stuff that needs to be shipped to Hawaii. A lot of stuff that has got to go to storage and kind of a cleansing, a purging of. I got stuff that's still sitting out here that's from this timeline that I'm talking about. So what better way than to make the point with a whole bunch of crap behind me. Oh, sorry if my daughter heard that I just called her stuff crap. Oops. But with all this stuff behind me, that it's really us getting stuck. So, you know, we get stuck in these old things. And these things that we're talking about are not actual physical things. They're not the physical things. But sometimes the physical things brings up this perception in us because we walk by something, we touch something, we come out to our garage, we have the perception of we have a lot of stuff, or maybe we have a lot of clutter in our life. What does it make us feel like? All these, and I'm using these little things. It's actually really, really big because as we look at perception and creation of reality, when we really realize the power that we have to create, it is all in how we are viewing our lives, which is what our perception is. So how are you perceiving this moment? How are you perceiving the next moment? How are you perceiving what happened yesterday? How are you perceiving what is going to happen today? If we get to the end, when we get to the end of today, what is your perception of the whole day? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it positive? Was it negative? You know, did you have more good things happen than bad things? What do the bad things represent? What is your perception of the bad things in your life? Because ultimately, what is it? We look at our good things, and here's how we operate with good things. We go, oh, that was fun, or that was nice. Next. And we don't really spend a lot of time in gratitude around these things. We don't spend a lot of time focused in on that really good event of, you know, and it's not that we're thinking about it and reminiscing about like, oh, I wish I could go back. No. If you're doing that again, now you're sitting in the land of scarcity. I don't have this. I don't have it. I want it. And what are you feeding out to the universe? Out to God, the universe, you're saying, I don't have. So as long as you have that perception of I don't have, because right now in this moment, I don't have. Well, what are you going to get more of? I don't have. If you step into those positive moments and you go back and you feel the positive moment, you feel just that charge running through your body, which means not the scarcity of it, but as though it is happening right now, that feeling of, oh, that feels good. So you have like this joy bubbling up in you. You have, you know, happiness that you're carrying with you. Maybe you're carrying love. Maybe you're just carrying this moment of, you know, positive feeling of like, yes, I'm doing good here, I'm doing good there, and really focusing in on what we perceive as good stuff. Now, when we talk about bad stuff, we sit around and we like dig into the bad stuff. It is like going into a storage unit of negativity, of bad stuff that we perceive as bad. And we just focus in on a box and we get in it. And it's like we went to the storage unit to find, you know, a book. And then all of a sudden we're digging through these boxes and we find a big box of old pictures. And next thing you know, you're digging through this box of old pictures and 4 hours go by. And in that process, you have all this emotion coming up from all these pictures, right? And you're just looking at the pictures and you're feeling into the pictures. And then there's like these feelings that are coming out. Well, we really get into the negative boxes of pictures, which we carry around with us, okay? We carry those around and we even turn what was good into negative because it's now a land of we don't have. So now we got the scarcity. And what is our perception of all of this? What our perception of the reality is that, oh, well, this bad shit happened. Why did that happen to me? How is that possible? I had things really, really going on. That was really, really awesome. So why did all this bad stuff happen to me? Bad stuff. And notice I keep going like this, bad stuff, because the reality is there's no such thing as bad stuff, okay? There's no such, it doesn't happen. Even the worst possible scenario. And I know you might get pissed off at me for this one, the worst possible scenario, but trust me, I've had my share of traumas much like everybody else out there in the world. We all get hit in different ways with bad stuff. It's how you choose to proceed through the bad stuff, move forward, or if you decide to set up camp in the bad stuff. So if looking at this, you know, like this bad stuff that we have come on, no matter what that might be, when that bad stuff presents itself in a really rosy picture, it is there to create contrast in your life. Because, like I said, on the beginning side of this, we enter the good stuff and we go, ooh, that was nice, that was great, fun, let's carry on. And we don't really appreciate in those moments the good that we have. I mean, we might think that we're appreciating it, but are we really carrying it around with us? Are we really carrying our joy with us? The more that you can carry around those little snapshots of joy, peace, love, gratitude, the more you're filling up yourself with these good things and you're holding them with you, so that when you hit a state of contrast, and think of the bad shit that happens as contrast moments, okay? Those are contrast moments. It is really that moment that allows you to flip around and go, oh, hey, this is not cool. I'm not liking that. That's why it's a contrast. That dark to the light, you know, it's like the light on the horizon as the sun is coming up in first thing in the morning. You have the dark sky and the dark land, and then you have that light across there. There's contrast in that moment. We can see the light, we can see the dark. It's this really incredible moment that happens every single morning, all around the world, right? This moment of contrast happens to each of us in our lives consistently. So as it's focusing in and seeing the contrast for what it really is, which is the birthing of the light in our life. It is there to provide us with the moment to say, this is what I want. This is what I want. It's that choice bearer. You get to make that choice in that moment when you have the contrast to say, no, yes, 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 I want this, I want this, I want this. And you get to really embrace and feel inside yourself what you don't want and what you do want. Now, once you experience that contrast, and if you face all difficult times or painful events, traumatic events, more on the line of this is providing me contrast in my life so that I can actually see what I want, what I don't want, so that I can be a conscious creator in my life instead of a victim who's just getting washed through by everything. You now choose in that moment what your life is going to be like, and you take a step towards that versus sitting around and digging through your old shit and going, I'm going to just stick over here in this perception that my life is so stuck. I feel stuck. And I hear this one all the time, right? We're stuck. I'm so stuck. You're not stuck. The world is turning. The time is moving forward. Seasons are changing. Life is moving on. You're getting older. You're not stuck. There's no such thing as stuck. You're always moving, always progressing forward. Whether you're being a conscious player in that progression or not, now you got something. Stuck is just another word for, I'm being the victim right now. I'm going to just kind of like feel like I'm going to just not, I don't know what to do. So I'm stuck in quicksand. Yes, we have these moments of feeling stuck, but even in the stuckness, we're moving forward. So realize that, again, that is providing a contrast for us in those moments. So you really, really want to pay attention to, just being able to experience that contrast moment for what it really is. Noticing if you're getting stuck in your old shit or not. How you're dealing with the perceptions that create these beliefs, because a lot of the time our perception is actually this repetitive thought that we're having, and that leads to a repetitive belief that we're having, and it is keeping us, holding us back, you could say, in this old way of thinking and feeling that is not serving us for our highest and best good, for our success, for our abundance, for that freedom-based living, for, anything that we're really wanting. So we need the contrast. We have to have that contrast there. Just embrace the contrast for what it truly is there for. And that is us able to make a choice and experience what we want and what we don't want. How are you perceiving the moment? How are you perceiving this moment? How are you perceiving, the tough shit that you might be going through? Because we're all always going through tough shit. If you want more than enough with plenty left over, look at your perception of what you have. The perception is what? What is your perception? I know for me, I go through, here's one for you. I realized that I had a perception wrapped around my income for the month of February. January and February normally are not great months for me income-wise, for whatever reason. And it seems like January should be a great month. I'm a coach. Coaches are making fantastic income all over the world. So why is my income in January not that great? Well, my perception around it and got stuck in an old pattern from years ago prior to me being a coach. It was during those time frames when I was, in my 20s, and I was a stay-at-home mom, or just, working not a job of purpose. Well, I'm pretty sure that there was a purpose. I think I was coaching even back then, because I did property management. I was a leasing agent in Seattle. And even in those moments, we were struggling. It was, paycheck to paycheck, and sometimes not even that. And it was borrowing money, and it was trying to figure stuff out, and being young parents and having young children, and all the struggles, and facing like potentially homelessness at different times, and power getting turned off, and not having money for gas or food or diapers, all that kind of stuff. And I realized that every January and February, those were the really tough months for years in my marriage. Those were the really, really tough months. And prior to that, January, my mom had a clothing store when I was in high school. And January was a shitty month in retail. It was just a really bad month. December was a great month. Of course, it's December. But January, there was like this downhill flow. And I remember her struggling every January in the retail world of having her clothing store and all this different stuff. So there's where my program got started, at my mom's clothing store, because that was also my job after school. You know, I would come in and I would help her, and I would see her stress, and January was just like this monstrous month to her. And then I ended up getting married and in my 20s, and for whatever reason, January was this shitty ass month in finance for my husband. He always did just horrible in January. And February was another struggle. So my program got set that January and February were low income months. Fast forward 20 years, here I am, pretty damn successful, make really good money, boom, 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 boom. And January rolls around every year and I struggle. It's just like, until this year. I changed it because I figured out, it only took me 20 years. I figured it out that my perception of January was that January was a struggle. So my perception set point was, hey, you've got to struggle in January. You've got to struggle in February. But what was it? The only thing I did different to go from making like nothing to having a freaking amazing January and so far a really great February was change my thought and feeling around January and February. I just released. I just saw that, hey, that's a contrast pattern that has been coming into my life for the last 20, 25 years. What does it mean? And once I started realizing that, it allowed me to give myself a new set point. So now, after this year, my expectation level of January is so much greater that I'm pretty confident that every January from here on out will never be what the old Januaries were, will never be what the old Februaries were, because my new set point is, wow, January is a great month. I do great things in January. People, you know, I get new clients, I have this going, I have that going, I have these courses, all this different stuff. So my set point is completely different because now my feeling is actually excitement around January instead of, here comes January, I better save up for January because I'm just gonna like be behind the 8 ball on this one. It's like, it's gonna be really tough in January, but it's not. It's not. January's not. So where's your January? What's your perception around your January? Where's your contrast moment that has created this belief in you, that has created this perception on your life that is really, truly not real, because it is just that. It's just a perception. And a perception is just how you're seeing it. So are you going to choose to start looking at your life through rose-colored glasses? Or are you going to choose to just walk around blindfolded? How are you choosing to view this moment, today, this month, this week, this year, this experience, this contrasting moment potentially, you know? Like, how are you choosing to view right now? How are you choosing to feel right now? Because that's the key point. So choose a perception of success by taking things. You want to control your life, you want to control your outcomes, then pay attention to the thoughts you're thinking, the feelings you're having, which lead to the actions you're going to be taking. But primarily, it's the thoughts and the feelings, not the actions. Remember that. Thoughts and feelings, not actions. Actions are 15% of the solution. And you can go out there, and what you're going to find is if you're perceiving all of this stuff to be one way, when all you have to do is flip it to this way, that is not an action. The only action taking place is right here, okay? That's it. That's the only action, is the change of thought. The change of thought, which leads to a change of emotion, change of feeling in your body. Do things that make you feel good. Have thoughts that make you feel good. focus in on what your perception is, and go have an amazing, amazing day. And I will catch you guys tomorrow at 6-ish in the morning. Okay? Love you guys.